Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
This is a one speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Paul H.
Paul, I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Paul. Hi. Yep. Which one you want? You care about this one, right? Okay. It's been a while since I've had this kind of thing pointed in my face. Two of them especially. You know, it's I need the money. Anyways, thank you, Josh. Thanks for calling me. Monday. Right? You're like, hey, can you speak at a meeting on Wednesday? And I'm like, what kind of meeting are we talking about? And he said the Marina Center. I was like, oh. You take it to your database of meetings. You're like, Marina Center. Yes, okay. And then I just went, sure. And you were like, really? Okay. And that was the whole conversation. And I said, all right, see you Wednesday. Text me the address. You're like, okay. Click. And because I didn't have time to come up with a reason why I couldn't, you know, which I love to. But there was none this week. Usually I can come up with some good BS, but there was just nothing. So anyways, thanks. It's good to be here. And it's a great meeting. And you come here, you're like, oh, nice. All right, this is awesome. Great. We can work with this. And don't worry, the beginning's always really horrific. And I come around. About 5 minutes in, I get very awkward and uncomfortable, and then I start talking. Eventually, it's about program. Last 2-3 minutes makes up for the first 25, 28. So you'll be good. Be good. I was going to wear my hat too, Mickey, my 75-year AA anniversary hat. I was there too. It was cool. I don't know why you and I weren't speaking. That was my only problem at those big 60,000 people meeting is me and Mickey Bush should be speaking. My ego spoke that night and was awesome. And, just killed it. People were crying. They were like, wow, that guy is the future of Alcoholics Anonymous. Wow, he is great. Just great. And just couldn't get great out of my head from the luxury box that I snuck into with my buddies. And to show you how spiritual I am at 24 years of sobriety, people were asking me, am I there? Am I at the convention? Yes. Are you at the big meeting? Yes. Where are you seated? And it's just luxury box, you know, ... And people are like, really? I mean, how'd you get one of those? And then I just put, well, I'm me, ... And people are like, whatever. And some are sicker than others. And it was a great, great time. Really was great, wasn't it?
It was great.
It's hot as hell, though. That was the only problem.
Yeah, but the World Cup was on, so we didn't care.
Oh, that's right, exactly. Did Ireland make it? Does anybody? I didn't.
They got cheated.
They got the hand, the French. Okay, we could probably do this after over a pot of decaf down the street, right?
Decaf?
Yes. I did half decaf. Anyways, let me get started. I guess it's good to be here. To be honest, I try to be honest. I don't really have a canned pitch. Every time I come up here and I just try and talk from my heart. Try not to be too funny, but it's hard not to be because I have a lot of love for humor. Just to tell you, I'm 40 years old. Thank you. And yoga and skin cream. And I got sober in April of 1986. Been sober that whole time, so it's a little over 24 years. Thank you. Let's fucking go home. And I'm from Boston. Yep. That's when the crosstalk needs to stop. And we got it. You won the NBA championship. We're all happy for you. It's terrific. Fantastic. We're great. Good for you. Good for you. I have a dad who's an alcoholic. My brother and sisters probably all are. My mom's an Al-Anon. I have a dog who's no longer with us, but at the time he was, and his name was OJ. That shows you how far back we're going. And we named him after the great running back. What? Yeah, he was a killer dog, actually. He was fantastic. He used to kill things. He would just kill things. And nice, Mickey. Nice. That was a good one. I like that. We can use that. And I just had a normal childhood. I grew up in a suburban town outside of Boston. No one really had any feelings. I was talking about this a couple days ago. I just grew up in very normal nothingness. It was so nothing, it was just painful to get through. My dad occasionally would have an outburst and scream and yell, but otherwise it was just kind of silent. And he drank a lot at night. He would go to work every day, and my mom would just kind of fret around, and my brothers and sisters and I just kind of existed, didn't really like each other. And I went to school. I was never good in school. I always had problems with attention deficit disorder and all those wonderful things that are prerequisites for alcohol and drug abuse, learning disabilities. It was not a pleasure to have in class. I got in a lot of fights. I was constantly in trouble with schools, and this is going back second, third, fourth grade. I got thrown out of my fourth grade because I got in a fight with my teacher, Mrs. Fix. She won. She was a big woman, and she won, clearly. And I got thrown out of school for that. And I was the kid that was always next to the desk. I had a big mouth. I was fairly funny, but I was just a pain in the ass. And everyone had their breaking point. Sometimes when you met me, it was within the first 10 minutes. Sometimes it was 10 years, but eventually you're going to be like, I've had fucking enough of your bullshit, and I'm going to hit you or something. And that was my life. And in a lot of ways, that exists to this day. And romance, certainly, it's great. And then they're like, you are an idiot. And so, thus the amends. And so, which are great. Just made another one. My sponsor had me email, and I had to CC him on it. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's the new thing when you make emails in romance is you have to CC your sponsor because you're no longer allowed to sit across from them because they don't really want to see your face. Anyway, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. I promise you I've earned my 20 years, so let's show you how. So that was my life, and all I used to do growing up was cause problems, wreak havoc, and play football. That's all I did. I thought I was going to play in the NFL. It was my dream, my goal. It's all I would do every day, every week. I'd go to football, and I would play, and I'd try and hurt people. And I loved to hurt people. I was good at it, and that's what I did. 8th grade, 9th grade, played football, and I just didn't know how to relate to other people. I was not very good in relationships, clearly. I was class president, surprisingly, because I guess I could get behind a microphone and lie very well, and I won twice in a row. The second year I did get impeached, which is weird because you're in high school. I didn't know if that happened, but I was just, And during all this, I guess I forgot to mention that in about 6th grade, my little love affair with drugs and alcohol started. I went to my brother's friend's house. My brother was away at college, and this guy was smoking pot. And he said, "Would you like to smoke pot with me?" I said, "Sure." And we played Donkey Kong on ColecoVision for like 6 hours. And this other guy was making a pizza in the kitchen, and he said, "I'm going to make you the best pizza you've ever had in your life." And it was like one of those Elio's frozen pizzas with like Canadian bacon he put on it, pineapple, and then here was the rub, crushed Oreo cookies. And he baked it. Yeah, Maui. And it was the best goddamn pizza I'd ever had in my life. Just something about it just was high, and I went home and I just watched Friday night videos because at the time we didn't have cable in my small town, and I think it was like Thriller or Culture Club was on, and it just was the greatest. That was that night that I was like, ding, this stuff is awesome. Let's start drinking. Let's start doing this. This is the answer right here. We got to figure this one out. And I never had a moral dilemma with drugs and alcohol. I just didn't want to get caught. So my parents were very kind of always like trying to smell my breath. All those things were my issues. I immediately took to alcohol so much that I would always kind of, I don't know if I would black out, but I would just throw up. And lived in a small town. And the problem is when you live in a small town with a lot of woods in suburban Massachusetts or Boston, is that when you get drunk, one of the things I would do, we all have this weird stuff we would do. My thing was, I'm going to walk home. You know that moment happens when you're like, I'm out of here, I'm going to walk home. I'm out of here, I'm walking home. And so I just thought everyone's backyard kind of linked to your backyard. So I would just start going through the woods. And eventually you like come across out on the other side of town. And you're like, this is awesome, here we are. And there's cows and things along the way. And I never was in my neighborhood. And I'd be muddy and dirty and I'd fall. And like I'd come home, like my dad would be like, what the hell happened to you? So that was hard to explain. And I'd be drunk and there'd be vomit. It was just, and then I would spend the night in the bathroom because the floor was nice and cold. And that was basically the excitement of my drinking. And certainly it got worse, and there was, it's AA, so I won't bother you with the drugs, but, it looks around the room. A few people probably have tried some. I was a fan of hallucinogenics. That was the thing I liked to do, take LSD and go to church. I usually had to. My buddy's sister's bat mitzvah was another event that was strange because when you take acid, you don't want anything on your head, and like you're scratching, and they'd make you wear the yarmulke in there, and I'd be like, this fucking thing, and I'd be scratching, and be like, what is wrong with you? And they'd be like spinning on people because it was like satiny, shiny, and you'd be like, what the? And it was just an awkward experience, and they're reading all this shit, and you're like, I don't know what language this is, and you're trying to keep it cool, and you can't keep it cool. And it was always that, keep it cool, man, just keep it cool. You are losing it, and you're like perfectly still. Like, you know how like that person that thinks they're speeding and they're going 5 miles on the freeway? Dude, just still, just still, all right. Something's eating into my head. It's eating into my head. It's not eating into your head. Just get through this goddamn bat mitzvah. And I couldn't even get the name. I thought it was bar mitzvah and then bat mitzvah, and I was afraid I was going to say the wrong name. People were like, why did you say bar mitzvah? It's a girl's. You must be fucking high. Or an anti-Semite, or both. But you're fucked, buddy. And so, we're on to you. So that was always my paranoia. That was my using. And during this time, other things were going on, like the sit-downs. Always having sit-downs. There's just the sit-downs, The coach of the football team, there's something wrong with you, you're using drugs. Word is you're using drugs. No, no. Well, then where's your helmet? I don't remember where that. Who are you again? All that shit was happening, conversations you'd have the next day. People would be like, I told you yesterday this. You're like, yes, I know. I just didn't remember it. Now you just go, well, I'm just too self-involved to care. But back then it was just the drugs and alcohol. It was eating my brain away. And I was 16. And a few more sit-downs happened. And some fights. I got in a fight with my dad. That was bad. I was getting big. And, it's the only thing I miss from using is sometimes getting in touch with that rage where you could just scream and yell and break things, and it almost worked. That release of just blood, anger, and so out of control. And some of that would happen, so I scared everyone in my life. So people didn't really confront me anymore, because that's kind of how I figured out how to deal with that. You just snap. And people left me alone. And I had an incident when I was selling Christmas trees. Took acid again, and I was in a basement, and I had to count all these trees, and it was dark. And again, if you're going to take LSD, not a good idea to begin with in life if you want to get somewhere. But if you're going to take it, certainly don't be in a dark basement with branches. Weird part of Boston, and like a damp. It's not fun. That is not a way to go through life. And I just got scratched, and anyways, so what happened to me was that happened, then I got impeached as president because they would sit me down and say, listen, if you're going to be class president, you have to come to the school meeting every week. And I'd be like, and whenever someone would talk to me back then, it was never like, hey, okay, I hear what you're saying, this is healthy. It was always like, why are these people like, what's the angle here? They're fucking with me. I gotta well, I don't have to come if I don't want to. And they're like, well, as president, that's what you do. You come to the meeting. What are you not getting? And then I would be confused by their confrontation, so I'd just get angry and go, you're all stupid. And I'd run off. And like, because I had no skills in life. I just didn't, like, you think about that now. It's like sometimes when you deal with people in the program, like my sponsee calls me and like, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. My boss is an idiot. I'm just not going to work and God will take care of me. I'm like, you think that's going to work? And he's like, fuck you. You know, it doesn't make sense. But I'm like, all right, hey, dude, good luck. Give it a shot. See if that works. That sounds like a good idea. Just fuck them. Yeah. The world owes you everything. And who the hell am I? It was just that self-righteous, delusional sense of entitlement and just tremendously high amounts of low self-esteem mixed in where I just couldn't stand to be in my same stratosphere. And I'd gotten thrown off the football team, impeached, all these things happened. I made it to the Springs somehow. I was going to play baseball. I couldn't because I couldn't catch fly balls because I was high one day, and so I got cut from that, which was strange. My dad's like, why can't you make these teams that you're supposed to start on? I'm like, the coach is an ass. There was always reasons. Someone was always an ass. There's always someone to blame. A couple other colorful incidents happened. The next thing you know, I'm on my way with my parents to get my driving permit, even though I had failed at the class. So I didn't really realize that something was wrong here because I was high on opium. And I don't know if anybody's ever smoked opium, but it's fantastic. It makes everything great, except for when they check you into a lockdown adolescent drug facility, because by the time you realize where you're at, it's a little too late. And so I got locked into this place at 16. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, this is weird. Here I am, and you're naked being strip searched, and you're in treatment. And they're going through your belt loop to see if you've hit any crack in there or something. And you're like, what's going on here? And I stayed in this drug treatment center. And now I'm in a lockdown drug adolescent facility, and I'm court ordered to be there. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm stuck there. So now I'm like, all right, this is not going the way I had planned. And along the way, I failed to mention that I tried to quit using drugs. I knew that was the problem. I was never confused that what I was doing was not the problem. I knew alcohol and drugs were the problem. I knew I could not control the amount I took in my system. I knew it had ruined my life. I knew I was, destined to be a whatever. And, I somewhere it just became a blur. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. I shouldn't have gotten cut from my football team. I was supposed to be playing. This was my whole dream. I was like, I'm going to go to high school. I'm going to play football. I'm going to get girls. That was everything. And then I get to high school, and I did not get any girls, and I couldn't play football. And blurs started happening, and just shit kept going wrong. And I just couldn't figure out what the problem was. And I would quit using drugs and just drink. And then I'd be like, well, I can't drink because I can't stop throwing up and cutting through the woods. So I'll just take Dexatrim for some reason because I'm an athlete and we need to take speed. And that's going to work. And that didn't make any sense. And so I would just talk and get hyper and upset at people. And then there was always something, But the idea of just quitting using drugs and alcohol never really seemed like the plan, ever. And so now I'm in this treatment center where I have to, and I just don't think I can. And I'm there for 2-3 weeks. It's kind of an emotional time. If you're new or you're in here and you're sitting in this room, welcome. We're glad you're here, and I'm sorry you're here. I get it. It sucks. You look up at the fluorescent lights and you're like, here I am. This is my life. I'm 16 and I'm in a fucking lockdown drug treatment center. And my life is over and there ain't any getting out. And all the shit I was doing in my life, that's all gone. Nothing. And Len Bias just OD'd. So now the fucking Celtics are fucked. So I had nothing to have going on to look forward to in the future. Like that callback? All right, LA. And so anyways, you go. And so that's what's going on. And I'm there for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I just can't get this thing. And I remember, because we're not really supposed to talk to girls, but somehow I worked in the kitchen, and I was the guy that wrote names on people's bags, lunch bags. And I used to inhale the magic markers and get all high and then get chatty. And I don't know how someone got away with it, but I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I thought I was getting over on everyone because I was inhaling the marks a lot. So if you really want to know the truth, my last drug was a goddamn marks a lot. And so people always like, ooh, careful. Anyways, this girl said to me, if you want to get out of here, you put in a withdrawal, and legally, if you do not take it out, they will eventually have to let you out of here. But they're going to tell you they can't, and they're going to make you feel like you have to stay, but legally they cannot keep you here against your will. But it's going to take a while, so you have to really stick with the plan and keep putting in these withdrawals. So this was a heavy, screaming, military-like confrontation place. It was just hell week all the time. It was a horrific experience. So if you had a withdrawal in, you were dead man walking. So every day they'd stand me up, Paul, blah, 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 Mr. President, blah, all that shit. They'd be confronting me, trying to get my withdrawal out. I wouldn't take it out. Eventually they bring in my parents to have a big meeting. And my dad was still drinking and angry. And I didn't know this, but he came to that meeting thinking that he should take me out. He thought he had ruined my life, and he was really angry at my mom. And my mom was like, we're keeping that son of a bitch in there. So I get in this big meeting with everybody, and I'm like, I want my withdrawal. I want to get out of here. And they're like, well, did you use a lot of drugs? I'm like, I used some things. And they read off my toxicology report and, of this. And you know what lysergic acid diethylmol is? And I'm like, Advil? They're like, no, that's LSD. That's a hallucinogenic, and that's hard to get a hold of unless you're really into drugs. I'm like, huh, someone must have drugged me. They're like, I don't think so. I don't think that's how that works. Opium. Where are you getting heroin? What the hell is the matter? And then they're like, it's heroin, Mom and Dad. And they're like, oh, because it's all shock because they want to keep me there because there's a bunch of dough to be made. So it's all that shit going on. And I'm sitting there, and my mom says in the middle of this whole thing, can I talk to my son alone? Which was unheard of. And they said, well, ma'am, your safety. And she's like, really? What's he going to do to me? Get out. And so they all leave. And this was that moment. You have that moment in sobriety where your life changes, where it's like it's either going to happen or it ain't. And my mom says, I hope someday you have the experience to be a mother or a father and have children. To just know what it's like to just have kids, she goes, and then if you're even luckier enough to have more than one, you'll know what it's like to have like your little baby. Like you're still, I see you and I just like, you're my little baby. And I just hold you and I just want to love you and, a mother and her children. She says, it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm like, wow. Inside I'm like, she's kind of getting to me, but my other side is like, dude, stay strong. This is your mom trying to convince you got to stay here. And then she dropped this one where she said, I've never told you this. But when I was pregnant with you, I had some complications. And I had like some sort of a cyst or some toxic thing in my ovaries. And the doctor thought we should do an emergency hysterectomy because if something went wrong or it twisted the wrong way, it would release and I would have died. So he said to me, and your father, you probably should not keep this child. So take the night and decide what you want to do. So my mom says we went home, we prayed, and your father said to me, I'm not going to tell you what to do. But if 3 children under 5 have to be raised without a mother, it's a very difficult thing. Because I already had 3 sisters and brothers. And so my mom says, and I slept and I prayed, and I knew you would be something special. And I'm sitting here listening, and I'm like, whoa. Because obviously, she kept me, if you were wondering that part. And so, she kept me. She kept me. And she said, this is the greatest thing, and then I'll give you some more actual recovery, is, so now, I knew you'd be special. So now, if you think that I watched you grow up all these years, and just think I'm just going to let you leave here and go continue to kill yourself, you have another thing coming. And she got up and she left. And then they cued the Rocky music. And so, and that shifted something. That clicked something. Something happened in that moment. I went back into the rehab and the treatment, and I started doing all that stuff. It took me about a year. I got out of there. My next big hurdle was when I got out of treatment, I had to go to AA. They're like, you need to go to AA meetings, or you're not going to stay sober. And people would come in and talk to me in treatment, but I just hated them all. Because that's just, you can still just hold tight. You're like, that guy's an idiot. And everyone who came in and spoke, they were all idiots from AA, Paul? Yes, okay. Just hold on. And so my dad was still drinking. He said, you need to find an AA meeting. Start going. Cheers. And so it was a Tuesday night. I said, okay, all right. So the next day I went to school. I came home, and I was just going back to high school. Now I'm like a junior in high school, and just scared. And I call AA. Pick up the phone book. If you're wondering, it's in there, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I called it. And I said, this woman answered who sounded about 180, and it's like she had smoked more cigarettes than were ever made. And she said, AA. And I said, hi, I'm calling to join. Just like that. That's all I could say. And this was the first beauty of AA. This is why Alcoholics Anonymous is the greatest thing that ever existed to mankind, in my opinion, is she said, didn't even miss a beat. Oh, honey, that's terrific. We're accepting new members right now. That's great. I'm glad you called. And I was like, I'm glad I called too. Like, we're in this together, you know? Like, yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm in. You know? Let's do this. She goes, where do you live? I'm like, she goes, where do you live? I said, I live Sherborne, Massachusetts. She goes, okay, well, there's a meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. You need someone to pick you up. And I said, no, I can have my dad drop me off. And she paused. And she goes, how old are you, sweetheart? And I said, I'm 16. I mean, 16, guys. Call AA. And she's like, oh, it'll be great. You go tonight. So she gives me the address. My dad comes home. He takes me. We're driving in the car. Beautiful story. He's sitting there, and he's like, from what I've heard, Alcoholics Anonymous can really help people. So give it a shot. Just show up. And you're like, okay. You don't want to come? You know, I mean, no? Cool. Just drop me off in the parking lot? Got it. Cool. Nice. Just drops me off in the parking lot. I'm walking in, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever been to AA before. Obviously, everyone here has. But it's like, I forgot that feeling of like walking into a church basement. Like, really? What is this going to do? Like, and what happens when you, like, what are there dudes that go, hey, there you are, okay, son. We forget that, I think. We get sober, we're like, it's so terrifying. Like, what happens when I walk in? And God bless God, he was good. I walk in, and there was a woman there that I knew from the bank, Joanne, and she's just like standing there. Like, that's how it works. God just goes, there she is. She's like, oh, hey, welcome, glad you're here. Come on in. Like, thank you, God. Like, somebody just helped me get in this door, and there's angels everywhere. Sit down, the meeting happens, guy takes a cake for 23 years. Someone says, you got to get a sponsor. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask that dude to be my sponsor. His name was Warren. The long line of people. I like look at him, and I don't really see the line, because I don't know if you're new, you just don't see fucking lines. You know, now I see lines, and I'm just better than, luxury box style. But back then, I just didn't. Boom, right up to the front. And then there was the years when I would didn't need the line, and there was a confrontation that needed to happen, and that's a whole other thing that you need a fourth column for. We don't have time for that tonight, do we, Mickey B? Let's just get straight to the bam. So I go up and start tapping this dude on his shoulder. Very much looks a lot like Mickey. And I said, hey, mister. And he said, what? And I said, will you be my sponsor? Again, that's it. I knew what the protocol was. I just asked. And he said, sure, kid. Come next week. I was like, yeah. So I turned to leave. He goes, hey, well, what's your name? I go, it's Paul. And he goes, my name's Warren. Nice to meet you. Okay, me boy, we'll see you next week. I leave, go home, tell my dad, I got a sponsor. He's in the park, he picks me up. I'm like, I got a sponsor. He said, that's great. Because he's like, it's like people in here, like in the real world that I forgot, even it took me a while to get this, that people want to connect. They want to get it. They want to get the magic. They're not trying to make us feel different. And he's like, oh, you got a sponsor? That's great. Like he doesn't know what that means, but he just knows he sees something. Like he sees his kid that was going a monster that destroyed people's lives and was a terror. Like happy. I got a sponsor. Like, hey, I used to try and beat up high schools. It's the change is miraculous. Go home. Don't go to meetings another 6 days because my sponsor told me to come back to that meeting. But I was just floating along, telling everybody about my sponsor. He drops me off the next week at the meeting. It's a true story. I'm walking in, the guy's in the goddamn parking lot, waiting. Did not call him. Didn't call him. I just stood I asked him, and he said yes, and then he is just waiting, just in case. Maybe that kid will show up, so I'm going to be out there. So I walk up, he's like, hey, kid, I've been waiting for you. And that thing again goes, really? Yeah, glad you're here. Come on inside, I got you a seat. Again, that's the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. When people say, what is it you people do? Why are there 60,000 people traveling all over the world to sit in a stadium? Because of that. Because that guy that in a parking lot that gave me faith that maybe this thing works. The last 25 years, I've devoted my life to this thing. Started meetings, sponsored people, groups all over the devoted my life to Alcoholics Anonymous for fun and for free. Who knows how many people that guy helped by helping me that I helped? By being in a parking lot. So when they say to you, take this shit seriously, I'm like, right. Things start happening with me. He's a great sponsor. I go to college. I go in Phoenix, Arizona State. Again, when you're sober, you're like, I want to go party. So we go to this school. You'll love this, Mickey. Go to Arizona State. This is like 1989, 1990. Me and my buddy Tarkus, actually, who used to live here, he moved to San Diego. And Tarkus. So, and I was in a fraternity because I just couldn't let go of that like partying vibe. So I joined the most partied fraternity, and I'm sober, which makes total sense. If you're young and sober, you get it. Any decision that makes sense, you're like, let's do the opposite. So enjoy, giddy up. It's awesome. And sponsor a lot of young dudes, and I just let them know they're okay, they're safe, and I love them. It's cool. They don't have to fear me. They know that their sponsors got their back. And so we go to, there's no meetings on campus. There's like one, but it like rotates. So I say to Tarkus, I go, we need to get a sponsor. 5 minutes, right? 5 more minutes is what I got about? Yeah, cool. Oh, it's gonna be a great 5. See, told you. And told you, warned you. And I promise you I might even cry. And so I used to never cry, but we'll get to that in a minute, or no, hopefully not, because I don't like to cry these days because it sucks. And I go to Tarkus, I go, we should start a meeting on campus. Let's go to the campus people, I'm sure they'll give us a meeting. He's like, all right, so we go to the campus administration, okay, whoever they are, we'd like to start a meeting on campus. They're like, well, we just don't have the room. You're like, really? Tempe, Arizona, you don't have the room? All you got is fucking room. It's like a desert, for God's sakes. This isn't Manhattan. Yeah, we just can't really, there's really no room to start. We don't really, we just can't. Sorry. But if you want to learn Russian, we got a room for fucking that. All right, great. So cool. And you just won, by the way, Playboy's most #1 party school. You don't think maybe give a thought to an AA meeting on campus? No, fuck us, got it. Okay, so we leave, and I said to Tarkus, I got an idea. Come with me, just follow my lead. And put a shirt on, because he had like his nipples pierced and all this. He's like, why? I'm like, because we're going to the New Meat Center across the street, the Christian place. He's like, all right. Put a shirt on, stud. And so, let me talk. We'd like to talk to the father, the pastor, yes, okay. So we meet with the father, and I say, Father, hi, my name's Paul, this is Tarkus. We are young, sober, Christian men. Very, 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 very Christian. I live right off campus at the Fidelt House, which is the house that whatever Rohypnol built. And anyways, we're very Christian men, and so we would like to start an AA meeting for Christians here in your basement, if you would not mind. And he said, I'd be honored, boys. Noon every day, you have it. And that fucker's been going for close to 20 years now. It just hit the 20-year anniversary. And I went back like a couple years ago and was telling the story, and everyone in the meeting's like, nobody cares. Isn't that awesome? That's what's great about AA. Hey, Mr. Not Bill Wilson, nobody cares. Okay? Nobody cares. You start a meeting. No one gives a shit, LA. Get out of here. What is it about? You say you're from Los Angeles, people are like, we're going to hate you, or they love you. But it's never down the middle. They pick a side. And that day, they're like, no one cares. Anyways, so in the last couple of minutes, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. About 7 years of sobriety, I had a lot of problems in my life. I'd moved to LA, and I just couldn't get this thing. I was going to tons of meetings, and I needed to go through the steps again. Long story short, the guy took me through all 12 steps. There's 12 of them. Had to make a bunch of amends, everything. So I'd flown back east to make a bunch of amends. My first trip was to Boston to see Warren. I go and see, because I would always visit him, I go and see Warren. I call Warren, and he's too sick to see me. And I say, can I come by? And he says, no, me boy, I'm not feeling well. I said, okay, well, maybe before I leave. And he says, no, son, this is it. This is it. And I said, I just want to come see you. Can I please? And he said, no. I want you to always remember me the way you remember me. Because he had really, and I said, well, I never disrespect AA. I go to meetings, I start meetings, things are great, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I know, son, I know. And I said, thank you for saving my life. And he said something I didn't expect him to say. He said, thank you for restoring joy to mine. And that guy was like one of the most powerful people in New England. I had no knowledge of it because whenever I saw that dude, he was just me. So I leave there. I go try to make amends to my dad, who's in South Philadelphia at the time. He's drinking. He's out of control. Him and my mom have a no contact. He's trying to give me a present to give to my mom. I'm like, Dad, you have a no contact. I can't give her a gift. It's Christmas. It's just a painfully awkward situation. I couldn't make amends to him. 2 months go by. I moved to I was in Houston. He had moved to Houston, and he's my last amends. So I'm like, I got to make this amends. So I go and I see my dad, and we're in a car, and I said verbatim to him, Dad, it's 7 years. I had a lot of problems, and I had to do this stuff. And I said to him, AA has really helped me, but I had to do it. I had to show up, and I had to get a sponsor, and I had to do this thing. And he says, that thing has really helped you. And I said, yes. I left there. 2 weeks later, my mom calls me and says, I don't know what happened, but your father's going to AA. And last week, me and him in his 14 years, and me with my 24, went to the convention together, father and son. Told you. And it was great. And I will end with this because it's always it's just real quick. Is that I bought a chip. I had a great girlfriend a few years ago who we broke up. She moved to New York. She got a massive life. She was about 8 years sober and she died tragically. Just had an aneurysm and in Central Park running with her fiance. And it's been a very painful 2 years. And her 10 years was last week. So I bought her a chip. I gave it to her on Sunday. My buddy Adam, who OD'd about 6 months ago, is buried right by her just by a coincidence. And this thing is just awesome. And everyone in here, if you're in this room tonight and you've helped people or they've helped you, thank you. Because this thing is the most beautiful, anonymous. The fact that there was one sign on the Alamo Dome that just says that 75th anniversary, there's nothing, and it's just this quiet, beautiful, simple fellowship where one person waits in a parking lot and talks to another, and one person visits an old dear friend and values their life and lets them know that they mattered. This thing will go on forever, and I love you, and I thank you all for my beautiful life. Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. And if that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.